I'm Dave with Chaosium. Earlier this week, James sat down with Mike Mason to talk about the upcoming Call of Cthulhu campaign, A Time to Harvest. They also talked about future products, which will center around Arkham and the Miskatonic Valley. If you enjoyed this content, let us know in the comments and subscribe to see more.
The next book going into layout that's kind of all ready to go into production is the revised and updated campaign that's called A Time to Harvest, which was originally an organized play campaign we released a few years back now, written by Glyn Owen Barras and Brian Salmons originally, and then with a bit of development from myself and Lynn Hardy. And this is going to be the book form of the campaign. It follows an ill-fated Miskatonic University expedition. Well, what good campaigns don't. And this one though doesn't go to the back of beyond, some exotic, mysterious, strange place. This is all set in New England, so it's quite condensed and focused down. So it's quite cool in that way because it takes you around the Vermont Hills in the late 1920s. It also takes place in Arkham itself, and there's a little episode in Detroit, and maybe a possible excursion to Canada. But the heart of the campaign kind of cuts between Vermont and Arkham, so it's very much that kind of Lovecraftian setting in that sense. And you are students or professors from Miskatonic University, and you are part of an expedition to look into either the geology of the Vermont Hills or the folklore of the Vermont Hills. In fact, the expedition has two kind of sides to it. So your characters can be, geologists or folklorists of some kind, and they each have their own different kind of challenges as they, try to undertake their expedition. And of course, they find things, and these things have an impact on the campaign itself as it moves forward. And obviously, I can't say too much about the plot because obviously there are secrets and things that will be revealed as you go through. And but it's written for kind of classic Call of Cthulhu, but but it can also be played with Pulp Cthulhu, and there's plenty of kind of guidance for pulping it up. And in fact, one of the chapters is an optional extra chapter at the very end of the campaign that you can slot in if you're playing Pulp Cthulhu. I mean, you can slot it in if you want to play classic Cthulhu, but it's very pulpy, so it kind of may play better in the Pulp Cthulhu kind of mode. And I can't say where that goes to, but that does go to the back and beyond for that particular episode, and features a strange city somewhere. And it's very cool. There's lots of interesting characters who reappear throughout. There's a kind of set of NPCs at the core who you interact with in various ways as the campaign goes through, who can become allies, enemies, or become are indifferent to you. So it's a very focused down campaign. So in that sense, it's a very manageable campaign. The Masks of Nyarlathotep campaign is very world spanning, going to different countries, and many NPCs. And so for the less experienced keeper, it can be more challenging to run. It's possible, but it is more challenging because there are a lot more moving parts. Whereas A Time to Harvest is, as I say, very self-contained, and is perhaps one might say an easier campaign to run, particularly if you're a novice keeper. So it's a great kind of introduction into how to do a campaign, basically. So that'd be cool. And it's been fully revised since the original organized play version, and obviously we had a lot of feedback from the keepers and players who did that original kind of version of the campaign, and that's all been built into the this new version, this new edition. It's got new artwork and new maps throughout, maps by Matt Ryan, and artwork by all manner of good people. I'm just trying to remember who we've got on the artist side. We've got Dan Baker, Caleb Cleveland, Emmanuel Desiati, Victor Leza, Pat Boyko, Maliware, Lee Simpson, and so on. There's and a few more as well. So it's a loads of really cool colour art and so forth. So yeah, I mean that's really exciting to kind of get that out, and because I think it's a really cool campaign. I think Brian and Glyn, who did the put it get together originally, did a great job on kind of focusing down, trying to do something different to the kind of world-spanning campaigns that Cthulhu often is famous for, but doing something similar, but in a much more focused and distilled manner. So that's hitting the hitting the layout desk any day now, really. So it won't be too long before that actually is available in PDF and then print.
I'm now running through in my head all of the cities that it could possibly be, but I'll say no more because obviously we want to keep things secret. This sounds really exciting because a lot of my Call of Cthulhu games, and I know everyone else's, start set in that New England, around Arkham, around the Miskatonic, and it will be really cool to have something that plugs in so well. Do you think that players are going to be able to use maybe the foundations and the action that happens in this campaign to influence their long-term depictions of Arkham and how Arkham might appear in their other scenarios or games?
Certainly that is possible because there are events within the campaign that could, they may take place depending on whether our investigators, stop them or not, that could have consequences for places like the Miskatonic University and so on. So potentially it could inform that kind of longer term campaign based around those areas with this as a potential starting point. What I can say is that beyond this book, this campaign, I'm going to be spending most of the rest of this year really working on the kind of classic Miskatonic Valley range of books, which are the Arkham, originally was Arkham Unveiled, Escape from Innsmouth, Kingsport, City of the Mists, and the Dunwich book. And each of those are kind of presented as sandboxes for each of those locales within the Miskatonic Valley area. And so I'll be developing and redeveloping and reimagining and basically producing new editions of those particular books, which while obviously none of them are essential to running A Time to Harvest, you can, all the details in that campaign already. If you wanted to run a campaign set in the Miskatonic Valley or just in Arkham, these books that will be coming down the line provide that kind of material. It tells you, who lives where, what's going on, and contains many kind of plot ideas and seeds that a keeper can choose to develop or ignore depending on the style of game they want to run. So we've got those books coming down the line, and one new book I'm looking to add to that kind of collection is a player-facing guide to the Miskatonic Valley. So this would be a kind of, I guess, roughly kind of like an atlas, a visitor's guide to the region that tells you a bit about Arkham and gives you some player-facing roadmap of Arkham. Same for potentially Innsmouth and Kingsport. They're kind of like a regional kind of travelogue almost, and that could be that's player-facing, so it won't have mythos secrets in it, but it will have information about the setting really and the environment. So and that could I'm trying to think of maybe trying to style it as a kind of almost like an in-game resource. So it literally a guide to the Miskatonic Valley that a keeper can put in the middle of the table and people can refer to during the game as they will. So it becomes a kind of an extended handout in a sense. So that's something that will be coming with those other books as I begin to kind of focus on them.